a very warm welcome to the Real Talk. How are you doing? How's your day so far? Thank you for sparing time to join us. Guess what? Today we're going to talk about farming. A woman in farming. How is she doing in agribusiness? You'll get to hear that story. If you're a lady in the corporate world, then you're thinking, what next? What will come after this? Probably you'll get inspiration from this program. Do share the link. We're live on RTV and on YouTube. Share that link so that we have as many people join the conversation. We are at Mythos Boutique Hotel, which is found in Kiyovu. Find them on the different social media platforms. Welcome to the show. My name is Jackie Lumbasi and our guest is Nelly Ingabire. Nelly, it's been a pleasure to see you after a long while.
Thank you very much, Jackie.
And thank you for honoring our invitation.
No, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much. How are you doing? You know, I need you to just give me an idea. Like, I have an order of questions, but just give me an idea of what time your day starts and how it goes.
Oh my God. I think my day starts at as early as 5:30, if I should say. I'll wake up, take a short prayer, and by 6 in the morning, I will wake up. You know, I'm a farmer. So first thing is we go look at the cattle. We start milking because we have milk to distribute as early as 7 or 7:30. And then after that, I'll go back and take care of the kids. If there's, take them to school. They know how to, you know, prepare themselves, at least now, because they know I'm out and my mother helps me too. So take them to school, come back, and then go around the chicken, the goats, and then to the plants. That's how my day is. And then later... That
takes you like up to around midday or...
No.
10 there?
9 is done.
9 is done.
9, I'm done.
So what do you do after 9?
Yeah, after 9, if I'm to go about cleaning, if I'm to go cooking, if I should go, you know, come to Kigali, go attend some meetings, stuff like that. So at least by 9, 10, I'm done with all the farm activities.
Okay.
Yes.
Beautiful. You have such a beautiful life. Let's go back to where it all started. Give us a little bit about yourself. Nelly the farmer.
Nelly the farmer. Okay,
yes.
Before I go to Nelly the farmer, my name's Nelly Ingabire. I'm in my early 40s, if I should say. Then, yeah, I was born and raised in Uganda and grew up in Rwanda. You know, because my parents and my grandparents fled to Uganda during the 1959 genocide, you know, and so I was born in Uganda, grew up raised in Uganda, and grew up in Rwanda. You know, because when my parents came back, well, I was about 10 or 12 years when we came back, and yeah, I think that is. I went to school in academy. From academy, I went to Lycée do Kigali. From Lycée do Kigali, I went back to Uganda. And later traveled to Sweden and came back to Rwanda.
I'd like to know what took you to Sweden. Did you go to study? Was there a job there waiting for you?
No, I was married to a Swedish man.
Yes. So you went there to follow your husband?
Yes, I went to follow my husband.
Yes.
I went to follow my husband. And then later divorced and come back to Rwanda.
Oh, so the return was after divorce.
No, it was before the divorce. I divorced after.
Okay.
Yes.
What really made you come back? You know, I asked that because a lot of people say, oh, when you go to Sweden, you have a full life there. You have arrived. Why are you coming back home?
Yes, what made me come back? You know, growing up in Uganda, and I was born in Barara, yes. I was living with my mom, partly with my mom and partly with my grandparents. When we were with our parents, we used to hear much about Rwanda, our president, you know, the love that he has for the country. You know, when you become a Kagame person, if I should say that,
yes.
Then you cannot live anywhere else because you hold Rwanda at heart. You love Rwanda. You love everything about Rwanda, that whatever small thing touches you and it is a little anti-Africa or anti-Rwanda, then you're like, no, sorry, I'm packing my bags and going back. So when I went to Sweden, I was living in the north, and it was It was more like I will not say it's a village life, but it was not. It's in
It was
the
like the countryside.
countryside. We were at the countryside. It was more like where my grandparents lived.
Okay.
So I looked at it and I'm like, if I can make it here, if I can do whatever I'm doing here, then I can also go back and do it in my country. That's how I came back, and that's how I also decided that, okay, at a later stage, that's how I decided to say that I can go back and be in my go out in the rural areas and start a life.
Yeah.
You know, because I had that experience. I had the Swedish and the Ugandan refugee camp, you know, lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you came back, did you go straight to, 'cause now you live in Nyamata, that's where your farm is.
Yes.
Did you go straight to Nyamata, and how was it setting up this farm?
No, when I came back from Sweden, I was eager to do something for myself, you know. I always loved being my own boss. I always loved cooking. I always loved, you know, dealing with people, running a restaurant and stuff like that. So when I came back from Sweden, I started a restaurant, Stonehouse. I worked with Stonehouse for about 14 years, you know, non-stop. Non-stop. It was a restaurant, a bar, and a pub in the evening. So it was really hectic. I kind of worked. I did not straight away go to the farm.
And that was going well. And you did 15 years.
Yes.
So you're doing 15 years of Stonehouse. Things are going well.
Yes.
At what point then do you decide, let me leave the city and go to the farm? But also, did you buy the piece of land then, or was it already in existence?
No, the piece of land was already in existence. I bought it when I was still in Sweden, because I remember I was going back and forth. So yes, I was married in Sweden, but I also was doing some job. You know, I was working. I took summer jobs. So I was saving and told my husband, my ex-husband now, that we needed to, you know, do something back home. And yes, every time I came to Rwanda, I tried to save money. I went to banks to bargain to see the interest. You know, if I saved money with them, how much would they be giving me at the end of the year? So I looked at it, it was, you know, like almost nothing, because yes, they would give you some interest, but at the end of the day, they would deduct some charges, you know, maintenance charges. So I put it up, and so that it wasn't working.
It didn't make sense.
So I told my relatives, I was like, okay, just get me some piece of land. Let me keep this money in land.
So every time you had some savings, instead of putting it in a bank, you'd buy land?
Yes, I would buy land,
Okay.
you know. So I put it there because I thought the banks were, you know, cheating me in some kind of way. So that's how I bought that piece of land. When I came back, I already had the piece of land. And when I started the restaurant, that same piece of land helped me because I started keeping chicken, goats, pigs, planting bananas, you know.
So by the time you started the restaurant, some of the produce, the ingredients used in the restaurant came from your farm?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Mostly the pork.
Oh.
Yeah.
You had lots of pigs?
Yes, I did. At one point, I had about 500 pigs. Yes.
My goodness. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Was it easy for you? Like, for you to just decide, you know, I'm going to go into agriculture? In some cases, you find land is owned by a man, and so women rarely motivate themselves or psych themselves to get into agriculture. Was it easy for you? Because you had a piece of land already?
I will not say it was easy for me, but at one point when you look at, I would say, options. For example, when I stopped working with a restaurant, it was not because I wanted to stop. No, it reached a point. You know, I told you. Did I tell you I have 3 children? No, I have 3 children.
But I know you do.
Yes, I have 3 children. My firstborn is 20 years plus, and my lastborns, who are twins, are 9 years old. So at one point, I felt like I wanted more than just one child. So I planned or looked into it with my boyfriend, and I was like, okay, let's have a child. Then 2 children came instead of 1.
Yes.
So, which is God.
Yeah,
you know, a blessing. But then you start thinking.
And this was a boyfriend. It wasn't a husband. You're not
No,
staying
no,
with
no,
him.
no, no, no.
Yeah.
He was a partner, I would say.
Okay.
He was a partner because we weren't married then. So he was my partner, I would say it. And I looked at it and I'm like, okay, I can do with one child and still run my business. But how about 2 children? How do I run my business with 2 children? And still, I also recall, you know, the time I was in labor, going into, you know, like you're in labor, you're preparing to give birth, and a client is calling you about food. You're like, oh, the food is not good today. What happened? I'm like, okay, sorry, I'm going in to give birth. So I came out and I'm like, will I be answering all these questions while I'm nursing my babies? So I had to take a decision and say, okay, I close the business, I take care of my babies, you know. But still, you also look at it. How do I do this? Do I stay in Kigali without a job and still run, you know, still maintain my lifestyle and the kids? And that's how I had to sit down and say, okay, how do I do this? Go back to the farm where you have all the food, where you have all the chicken and eggs and milk in one place, and where you can also sit and develop. So that's how I went back. Yes.
And then did you think of, because now you are, will have, you'll be nursing the children, but running a farm is also not easy. You're going to have people within the farm that you have to manage.
Yes.
You will have instances where you expected so many chicken, then today someone mismanaged while they were giving them medicine, maybe you lost some, the stress that comes with that.
Yes.
Did you think about that? Because if you're running away from these calls, the farm will present a different set of challenges.
Yeah, no, there's nothing as challenging as running a restaurant or a bar or pub in Kigali or even in any other place, because you have to be around.
You're the business owner, you're the cashier, you're the bouncer, cleaner.
And you're the bouncer, you're everything. You even have to make sure that what you cook comes out clean for your clients, you know? No, you don't want anybody to go home and have, some kind of disease or anything, stomachache and stuff. So, yeah, from that experience, if you carry it into farming, then it becomes a little easy. Okay. It's all about managing people.
Yeah. What are some of those challenges that you met in the beginning and you had to overcome, and if you have any that you still face today, it would be nice to know.
Challenges in
farming.
Challenges in farming. Yeah, challenges in farming is what you really meet is the labor. You know, the people are there, but to understand that they need to work quite well, you know, like do proper farming, you know, because I take it back to my grandmother's methods. I find it totally different here. Even a lot of people want to work well when you are near them. The moment you go, they'll stop working, they'll just cover up the grass and run and go.
They work only under close supervision.
Under close supervision. You know, and also to give the quality best. And quality work, you know. You know, they always want, it goes back in the mind like, okay, let's do small work so we can come back tomorrow. Nobody wants to work
to finish the work.
Nobody wants to finish the work. You know, so that is a very big challenge. And the other.
So you faced that in the beginning, and you still face that challenge until today.
Yes, but it's kind of better today.
Okay.
But it still is. And the other thing also is, when you go back into the villages, it's theft. Where you plant, some people want to come and take for free. Yeah. So as you plant, as you grow your food, someone is watching and waiting to come and take it.
Yes.
So
they want to reap where they didn't plant.
Where they did not plant.
Yeah.
You know, but it's becoming less and less every now and then.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been reading comments. A few people who have left the corporate world and gone into farming, and sometimes they get disappointed and run away. They say farming is not for the
weak.
For the weak. And they also say it requires a lot of money.
Everything does.
I think maybe farming needs more, or it doesn't need more?
I think every business needs money, needs time, needs patience. You know, I usually tell my people that whatever business you want to venture in, you have to understand. It's like you birthing a child, you know. You think about it, you get pregnant, you give birth to a child, they cannot even roll over in the bed. They start crawling, they start, you know. So even farming grows like that. You know, you start, but some people want to enter into farming thinking that, okay, we'll go in today and next year we'll be rich. It's not like that. You start small, you get all the challenges, you learn, and then you start growing. Because for me, if I would say, I stopped my business 7, 8 years ago, and it's only last year or today that I can say that I'm going into commercial farming. I started as a hobby farmer. I started like, you know, a small-scale farmer, wanting to learn, you know, ways of farming. How do I go into commercial farming? You know,
You weren't doing it at that time. You're not earning from it.
no.
Yes, you were
Yes.
eating. You were
Yes.
you were able to supply the restaurant, but it was not fully
Yes.
commercial.
It wasn't fully commercial. You know, I was earning small time, but today I would say that I'm looking into going into agro-processing now. Yes, I was planting and selling to a few friends also, take to the market, but today I'm looking at it, how do I take it on another level? But it's 8 years,
Yeah.
you know, so you have to be patient. You have to learn through the, you know, through the process. But if you want to go in today and reap tomorrow, then it's going to be very hard.
So there's crop farming and animal farming. You seem to have gone for both.
Yes,
You started with both.
I started with
But
both.
for someone who probably does not have the muscle or the capacity to start with both, which one of the two would be easier as a way of getting in? The one that you feel does not require much?
I think they go hand in hand. I think they go hand in hand. I'll talk about what I know or what I've experienced because I've not gone into research to see what works better. Because, for example, I'm a free range chicken farmer, but I still buy some feed from commercial feed farmers or processed processed food for the chicken. So in case I don't have the feed, I'll let my chicken go out and, you know,
And feed.
and feed. Or I have harvested my corn, I'll make some feed. So it goes hand in hand. If you have pigs and you're out of money to go buy processed feed, what do? Go to your farm, get some potatoes. I think you had some guy, I don't know if you had some guys calling me, telling me that they harvested potatoes, and I'm like, okay, keep all the potatoes for the pigs.
Oh yes, yeah. How do you say
so
that?
when you want to go into such projects, at least get something to back you up.
It's important to
It's
do
very
that.
important.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah. Access to funds. I have been in different sessions where women say the most difficult thing for a farmer is accessing funds. It's even worse for women.
Yes.
Would you agree with that? Is that something you've experienced?
Yes. Yes. Access to funds is it's not easy, but so many farmers want to go into farming to be able to access the funds. You know, they want to first get the funds before they go into farming. You know, so you take a project, you write it down, you submit it, you want money to go into farming. But if you want to do it the right way, I'll tell you some companies or some organizations have come to me, they're like, you're doing a great job, can we give you funds? So I'm like, okay, let me think of the project. What will I do if you give me the money? You know, yes, I want the money.
But they have come to you because they've seen something. They're already doing something.
Yes, yes.
It's not the other way round. You don't
Yeah.
go with a proposal looking for money.
Yes.
You put something on the ground.
Put
and
something. Let it be small. Put it down. It is small, but it's visible. So try to get the money when you have something. Still, someone might have something on the ground and still cannot get the money, you know? But it's not as hard as not having something, you know?
Yeah.
At least. When you have something to show and you want money, then you might. Probabilities are half. Like it's a little challenging to say you want money for farming and you don't show anything.
Yeah. What do you have on the form? Now, if you could just describe for us And of all the things that you have on the farm, which one are you more passionate about?
Yeah.
Because I know you already mentioned chicken, pigs. If you can just paint a picture.
Yes. A few years ago, I was passionate about. I started with pigs because pigs were giving money. You know, like they were my gold in my gold mine then, until we had a shortage of pig feed or animal feed. Then I stopped it and I went into chicken. Chicken. I live on a very large farm, so I love to see my chicken running around. You know, I love to supply people with organic eggs. Look at the yellow yolk. So I love chicken. For now, I'm into chicken.
How many
Very much.
birds do you have?
Yes, I can easily start with 1,000, 3,000, but then go down slowly because people will come and buy. Yeah, when they get, when they grow, when they get mature, people come and buy. So it goes down to 100, 200, 300 until I can start again. Yeah.
Is there anything you feel like you miss when you're out there? You look at the city life and you're thinking, I should go back. I should pack my things, leave Nyamata, and go live in Nyarutarama.
No, I get lost when I come to Kigali. I get lost. I don't miss anything. I don't miss anything. I've even tried to bring back my children to Kigali because we have a home in Kichukiro, but they find it so small, you know, like...
They're used to the space.
They're used to the space. They're used to the, you know, I don't know. Some people call them bush girls because they go out and pick fruits, you know. It's nothing. Kigali, I'm sweating. I don't do this.
This heat, you don't... This Kigali heat, you're not used to it.
No.
Yeah, because I was going to ask, how is it for the children? Do they get involved?
Yes, they get involved.
You're
so
teaching
much.
them slowly by
No,
slowly.
they're teaching me.
They're teaching you.
Yes.
Tell us what they
Yes.
do.
Oh, you know.
And do they have a timetable as well, like yours?
No.
Their day on the farm starts at this time and ends at this time?
No. They don't have a timetable per se. I don't make a timetable for them, but every time when they wake up, when they see that I'm going to the cows, they will definitely know, yes, can we go to the cows with mom, or can we go to the rabbits, or can we go to the kitchen? You're out in the wilderness, and you need to find something to do. Or sometimes I'll show you some videos. They go out and start looking for ripe bananas in the plantation.
Oh, wow.
You know, it's
Yeah.
they just wake up doing things. They try.
And I ask that
sometimes
because
they're
for
lazy.
someone who's a parent, they'll be thinking, maybe I want to go to the farm, but I want to do it for me. At this point in time, it's me who is interested.
Yes.
But I cannot go because I have 3 children who I am not sure how they will adjust to life on the farm. But from your explanation, it's what you, the parent, will lead them into that they will take. Yeah. Are there things you've done on the farm to make sure that the comfort is there, still the same?
You know, my kids started living on the farm when they were very little. You know, from as early as 1 year, 2 years old. So they have grown with these baby pigs, baby goats, baby rabbits.
That's the life they know.
Yes, that's the life they know. They have grown climbing trees to pick guavas, mangoes, papayas. That's the life. Yes, I have a trampoline. They can go up and jump on the trampoline. That is okay. But there's so much into, you know, this life. When they come back from school and they're like, Mommy, can we go get some guavas? That's what they know.
Oh, nice. How do you deal with the issue of middlemen? Because that's another tragedy that farmers face, where you're the one doing all the work and there'll be someone in between you and the market who will get a big chunk of the money.
I'm very lucky because I'm one person who came from, you know, I was living in Kigali. I know many people. I've been here and there. So at least I know how to go in and look for markets on my own. You know,
I don't need brokers.
No, I don't need brokers. I can call, I can, you know, go into offices and knock and say, oh, I need corn, or I want corn, or I need to supply you. For example, I used to supply Serena Hotel, and You know, I know can say, can I bring you this? But yes, it is a problem that my fellow farmers meet or face, most especially because they're, you know, they don't believe they can knock at a certain dose and,
And
you know,
sell the products
and sell the
themselves.
products.
Yeah.
But also the requirements that the government puts for them, you know, say you need to have a pro forma invoice before you take everything, carry this pro forma before you go selling, you know. So people don't know how to go through such small details. As for me, I'm not that big that I feel all those challenges now, but of course as I grow, I might face them or meet them.
For someone who's watching and they're interested in getting into agri-business, if they came to you and were looking for like a step-by-step guide on how to do it,
Yes.
from your personal experience, what would you say to them? Where do they start?
Where do they start? I usually tell people that start by looking into yourself. See what you have on the ground, if you have land, but also look into you. Am I this kind of person who can be patient enough to go into farming? Because if yes, today I'm putting on a dress, but you'll find me in an overall, you'll find me in boots, you know, you'll find me in a cape. But so many women want to look good, you know. So if it all begins with you, not with what I want to tell you. You know, first of all, it's like, okay, this is Nelly. I think I can do farming. I think I have passion. I would love to go out and do some farming. That is the first thing to do. Then you can go back and get some advice. Say, okay, what can I start with? Can I do corn? Can I do beans? Can I do, you know, stuff like that? But you cannot convince someone, or you cannot tell someone that farming is productive if they don't feel.
Yeah, they don't feel it in them.
They don't feel it in them. That is when they come and then it dies before it starts. Because they think, okay, if I go into farming, I'm going to get some money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go into farming for farming, not for money. Then the money will come.
Then the money will come.
Yes.
We're taking a short break. We will be back in just a bit. Thank you for joining us on The Real Talk. We are at Mythos Boutique Hotel in Kiyovu. You should find them on Twitter at Hotel Mythos, or you find atmosphere_KGL. We're talking to Nelly Ingabire. She's a farmer, so we're talking agribusiness. When we come back, a bit of conservation. What is she doing on the farm to ensure that she protects the environment in which she operates? Let's look at that when we come back. Welcome back to The Real Talk. My name is Jackie and our guest is Nelly. And Nelly is having such a hard time. She's not used to sweating. That's what she said. But this Kigali heat is not giving her peace. Nelly, let's talk about conservation, because the way we're doing agriculture today is not the way it was done by our grandparents. So what are you doing on the farm to make sure that the environment you operate in is protected?
What am I doing on the farm to make sure that the environment is protected? Yes. First of all, when you visit me, you'll see it. I plant lots of trees. The government has put in place, you know, some how would I call them, organizations, or some. The government has a plan and it's growing it, you know, where you have trees that you can plant and mix with crops.
With crops.
That is one. But I also have, my farm is into, how would I call it, sections. I have a place where I'll grow my crops. Then I have a forest part of it where I leave it only for the trees. Then I have another section where I plant, you know, all these indigenous. Let them be fruit trees or just, you know, trees that could not be like go back indigenous. They go back 100 or more years. So we have all those.
You have a section specifically
yes, sections,
for that.
Yes. And then I also look into, I go back into ways that my grandparents were farming, you know, where you have to have water collecting ditches or stuff like that. So you can have all the water come down, infiltrate, and so you have a good system. Not like to let all the water run around and go.
Yeah, you collect it and use it.
Yes, I collect it and use it.
Yes.
And the other thing is that I try to do organic farming. I try to do organic farming because, first of all, when I'm farming for my family. I'll give you an example. Once I sprayed my cows, you know, when you spray for the ticks and everything. And that same day, we did the milking, and my kids took the milk.
Yeah.
Just 1 day or 2 days, they had all these blisters, you know, and it was coming from the chemicals that we washed the cows with. Same thing if you're also planting and...
Well, hold on. What were you doing before? What were you using to spray the cows before this incident? Okay.
No, before I was careful, or before I was not, you know, I wasn't careful. You know, sometimes people tell us that if you talk to parents, mothers with young children, they'll tell you, the milk is giving my children blisters, but you don't know why. Maybe it's because of the chemicals they use to spray the cows for the ticks.
Because
and
they're
everything.
different chemicals.
Different chemicals, and they go in and you find them in the milk.
Okay.
So today I'm very careful. About,
after that happened,
yes,
you're very
after
careful.
that I'm very careful. I know its effects. Also on the plants, when you go back and into the farming sector, go where people are they're doing intensive farming, you'll not see a single bee. Because people are spraying and all the bees are dying. You won't even see the you know, many insects. That means what kills the bees can also kill you slowly.
Oh, yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So
and so it will be the chemicals used around
yes,
the farm.
Yes. So I try so hard to do organic farming.
Okay.
You know,
and to cut down the expenses.
To cut down...
No,
the
have a borehole? Do you use solar power?
No. The government has provided me with a water pump, you know, irrigation. They supported me with the irrigation system. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you do some recycling as well?
Yes, we do some recycling. When you talk about recycling, yes, I do some recycling because everything on my farm goes round. When we plant corn, then the corn stalks will feed the cows, and the remaining will go to the pigs, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, so it goes round and round.
Yeah. Did you go somewhere to learn how to do this and how to manage a farm and how to spend money wisely? Like, have you learned this on the job, or you went somewhere to be taught?
No. I did not learn it anywhere, but like I told you, I was partly raised by my grandparents.
So you learned?
Yeah, I learned from the time I was young. My grandmother's house was always filled with food, enough food. So people used to come to dig, whether they come to dig for food or dig for money. So I saw lots of activities taking place in that house. So when we came to Rwanda, my mother was living with my grandmother, and I was like, yeah, we've never bought beans, we've never bought potatoes, we've never bought cassava. We've hardly, you know, weren't buying so much food. We planted
things, yeah.
We planted. So, and I told myself that I wanted to be like her. You know, I wanted my home, my house to be filled with enough food for me, for my neighbors, and later, you know,
and
for the
possible.
market.
You know, I was having a conversation a few weeks ago with someone and said, it's possible to produce on the farm certain things that you do not have to buy. Like if you go to the supermarket, if you go to the kiosk, buy things you can't produce on the farm. But why do you have 3 acres? You have a house, you sleep in that house, and the farm has no tomatoes, it's got no potatoes, no cassava, no nothing. Basically, you're so blessed, so gifted, you're not putting that to use.
Yes, I don't know. Maybe I go to the market like once in 3 months, all once in 4 months.
Yeah.
You know, I buy small things. I buy sugar, I buy rice, I buy those small things. But then
Yeah.
when do I need them? Because if I have potatoes, if I have cassava, if I have bananas, if I have plantain, if I have beans, if I have, you know,
Yeah.
first it's to see what can satisfy your home.
That's the
Then-
first priority.
Yeah, that's first priority.
Yeah.
And you also, I was in the US. I was in, yeah, I attended a conference in Chicago, and we were in a very big hotel, and this hotel was, you know, supplying itself because it had on the rooftop. They had gardens. You know, they had the vegetables. They had tomatoes. They had onions. They had French beans just on top.
How do they do that?
You know?
Do they like carry soil from somewhere?
Yeah, they
Oh,
do
wow.
it. So you can imagine if a hotel, a 5-star hotel, can go as far as that. How about you?
Yeah.
Go to Europe. People will have very tiny gardens. You know, you take a cup, put a tomato, it will grow.
In that cup?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So how about us who have large space? Here people have farms they've never even visited. You buy land, you don't visit it. You don't know who is farming on your land.
Very true.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's high time we made use of our land.
You talked about attending a conference. You've mentioned government support.
Yes.
Where do you find this information? How does one know where to go to find help, for example? Because I'm sure the government just didn't walk to you to ask, oh, Nelly, can we give you a water pump?
Yeah.
So how did you maneuver?
It's working closely with the local government, from the Mudugudu to the cell, you know, to the sector, to the district. And also, you know, with when you look when you see all the government bodies, we also have private sector. Look into it. You're a farmer. They have this chamber of farmers. Join them.
Join them.
Yeah, see what they're doing. Be a member. Pay your membership. So you will learn everything. You have to be informed. It's very important that you keep informed. Go into participate in Umuganda. Most of those informations are given
Oh,
in
the given,
Uganda.
yeah, on that day.
You know, it's Rwanda is very communicative when it comes to those incentives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone else is, and this, I have a friend of mine who I'm sure is watching. She's torn in between living this job that gives her 500,000 monthly and going to start farming. She's not certain about it.
Yes.
You know, I want you to speak to a person like that. They're thinking, you know, there's this comfort here,
Yes.
and I don't want to go into farming. It fails. It doesn't succeed. Da, da, da. What would you tell such a person? Because they have a piece of land.
Yes.
It's been lying idle for 3 years. The only reason they're not doing anything on it or they've not gone into farming is there is this fear of losing that 500K or 300K.
First of all, you know, it's very important that you understand the person you are and the person you're working for. You know, this I'm talking about this on the as a woman. Women hardly work for themselves. So it's all about our children. Even me settling down and going back to the village or going back into I went to the village not for farming. Farming came later. So if you're like, okay, first of all, I'm not comfortable with what I'm doing. Second, I have my children or I don't have my children. You want a peace of mind. Third is like, okay, I have a piece of land. What can I do with this piece of land that can give me this amount? And third is that, do I need this much? You know, I have learned to put my needs, make a list of my needs. You know, I need school fees for my children. I need this much for electricity. I need this much to pay for my land bills. I need this much to go out and make friends. So if I need, for example, if I need $1,000 for the next 3-4 months, and I've paid my salaries to the workers,
Yeah.
then I'm comfortable. You know, I'm comfortable. Not saying that I do not want to work for more, but sometimes, quite
But at least
often,
with this amount, the basic needs are met for
yes,
sure.
because so many people face mental, how do I call it? So many people are depressed, they are stressed, they are meeting lots of challenges,
Stressed, yeah.
you know, on their job work. So how do you do to cut it down? If you have a 3-hectare piece of land, I'm 100% sure you can produce a lot of things that can cover up everything, you know, like all that you were covering when you still had a job. I'll give you an example. I recently visited a couple. They live in Musenyi. The lady works at a certain university, and the man is a retired captain. You know, they came from the city and went down in the village. And what they do is that they have a big piece of land. Yes, they grow crops, but they also, you know, buy and sell animals. Cows, they have the best cows I've seen in Rwanda.
Wow.
You know, they'll go buy cows, feed them well. Mostly they target the malnourished, like the maltreated cows. Come and give them months of proper
Feed
treatment.
them properly, treat them well.
Fatten them. They buy cows for about 400,000 and sell them for $1 million plus.
Wow.
You know, and they're very happy. You know, the costs of living have come down. They have cows, they have sheep, they have goats, they have chicken, they have everything on their piece of land, and they're very comfortable. So yes, one can be comfortable, but if you fit in that kind of, you know, lifestyle.
Yeah.
Because some people don't want to be dirty with a cow dung.
It will be a choice for one to
Yes,
make.
yes.
Yeah. And then there are others who want to do farming as a side gig.
Yeah.
Is it possible to maximize profits when you're doing it as a side gig, or is one just better off going there full time?
No, it can be possible.
Okay.
It can be possible. I have a friend of mine. She's into mining, big time mining, but she's also a farmer, you know, and she's also a seed multiplier. She's traveling almost
Who is
all
a
the
seed
time.
multiplier?
I mean, my friend. That's
No, what do they do? What does a
seed multiplier is like, for example, you have one papaya tree, and then you let it grow, ripen, and then you get more. You get seeds and
plant more.
Plant more.
Okay.
Yeah, you know. So, and she's traveling. She has a terrible kind of work schedule, but she's doing farming into greenhouses in her compound with a number of people, and then she also has a farm outside. Every time she comes in, she'll go to her farm and see how it's working.
Yeah.
So you don't need to be there full time. You don't need to be there, but at least you know. Do you go greenhouse farming or open space farming? What is easy for you?
Related to that, there's
Yes.
another person who probably has that piece of land, but they have the security of a job that gives them a monthly income, and their plan is they will get into farming on retirement. Once they retire, the pension they get, or whatever money they'll get, they will put it there.
Yes.
Will that be too late? Is that something you'd advise someone? Because is farming something you would advise one to start when they're 68, 70?
You're already tired. You're already old. You want to rest. So you can start it small at least today. Start it small today. Grow with it. Retire with it.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, retire with it.
Don't let it be your retirement plan.
No, don't let it be your retirement plan. People are doing farming here, even when they're sitting in their offices. They go back weekend. They go to Mutara,
Yeah.
go to their Nyagatare, go to their corn farms or cow farms, cattle farms and stuff like this.
That would be
People
the
are doing
best
it.
way
So
to
do
do
it now. Then when you retire, it is already there. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, we're almost done with the conversation, Nelly. And thank you so much for making time. If there is one message that you want our viewer to take, you know, we've said so much. We've talked about conservation, talked about raising children on the farm and making it comfortable for them. But if there is one single message you don't want the viewer to forget, what would it be?
Well, one message that I would love to give the viewers is to try and go back into old times, into our old time. Go back to our grandparents' time and see how were they doing things, you know. Today we have children who know nothing about village life. They know nothing about how to, you know, for example, if I put my daughter somewhere and said, okay, it's all about you, you know, try to find yourself. It's going to be very hard because she does not know how, of course mine knows, she does not know where potatoes come from, she does not know where
milk
comes from. You know, it's all about city life, you know. So please create an environment, a safe environment where your children can go back to their grandparents, go back to learn ways of farming, ways of living with domestic animals, know these small details, because at the end of the day, they will need all this information. You know, they are growing to be husbands of tomorrow, wives of tomorrow. How do you manage life when you know nothing about anything in the world? You know, it's
better to equip them early.
It's better to equip them early. I have a friend of mine who was sending her daughter to Canada for her further education, and he was very much worried. He's like, my daughter will not even afford to cook for herself. So we had to take her to Serena to learn how to cook, you know.
Like you took her there on internship or something?
Yes, to learn how to cook, and then he later took her to her auntie, said, please stay with her for a few days. Let her learn all these small basic things.
Because she was coming from a home where she's not done anything for herself.
Very much.
There's always someone taking care of her.
Yes.
And time now came when the parents were sending her to a place where she would be alone. It became necessary for her to learn how to do these things for herself.
Yeah. And it's also very important to teach our children to know, how would I call it? Teach our children to care for what they have, if I should say. You know, you'll meet, I don't know how to really say it, that it sounds very well. Because we have animals domestic animals that can live with us, but no one knows why they are living with us. For example, dogs or cats or goats or anything. Rabbits, you know, you look at them and you're like, okay, so what? You know, why would we live with them? What are they?
Why aren't they out there in the wild?
Why aren't they there in the wild? The trees that, you know, people see the trees and they don't know why the trees are there. Even if you cut it or don't cut it. Talking about trees, I think I live in Bugesera, and will soon be, how would I call it? 30 years ago, the government started the initiative of planting trees. But today, because of there's a large construction
the place is
demand,
developing.
I would say. It's developing and everybody's cutting down trees, which is not really good. So it's very important for people to know the use and why we want the trees, why we plant them, why we conserve them, and also find different activities for their children to be involved in, you know. Weekend comes and children are like, let's go swimming. Let's go video watching. It's late. We don't have so much for the kids in Kigali or in Rwanda. There is nothing. Not really, nothing, apart from the swimming, the football and all that. So bring them out, bring them to Nyamata, let them come plant trees, let them come learn how to milk the cows, let them
see where this food comes from.
Let them come run around with the chicken, see where, you know, get to know all these things.
Do you ever open your farm to such visits? Do you welcome people who
Yes.
want to come learn or bring their children to learn?
Yes, we are open to some schools,
Okay.
but only when we feel it's safe for children to be there, when we don't have disease on the farm, because sometimes we have bad flu or we have, some diseases on the farm. So only when we feel that it is safe for the kids
That's
to be
when you
around,
permit them.
that's when we permit them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Nelly. We'll certainly have you back here. There's so much you can talk about. Thanks.
Thank
I'm
you.
inspired. I am
Thank you.
inspired. Thank you so much for being part of the Real Talk, and I hope that you have picked something from Nelly. There's been so much to learn from her. And I think the part I love most is if you're watching and you're somewhere in Kichukiro, you're saying, that story is not mine because mine is just a small garden. Nelly tells us it's possible to start something on that small garden. She made it even worse. Said you can plant your tomato in this glass. So we don't have an excuse. We don't have an excuse. And again, most importantly, get your children involved. Get your children involved. Thank you for joining us. We do look forward to seeing you next week. And a big thank you to Mythos Boutique for hosting us. We will look forward to seeing you. God bless you.